Welcome to the official Jets podcast. We are presented by WynnBET. Betting is a team sport. Bet together at WynnBET. Eric Allen, joined by my partner, as always, Bart Scott. Bart, we've had a couple hours to digest it now. Was that a statement win for Robert Saleh and the New York Jets taking down the Buffalo Bills?
I mean, I think it is. I mean, I think it's a statement that says, hey, we're here and we're not an easy win. And when we play the way that we're capable of playing, it wasn't perfect on offense, but you got to think on the other side, you're going against a great Buffalo Bills defense as well. But if we just stand the fight, we don't turn the ball over like Josh Allen did, there was opportunities for that game to go the other way. But big credit to the Jets defense. And it wasn't always pretty, right? They have to stop this mugged up look, the check to the open side run. It's something that they have to get out of and understand that teams are going to exploit that, especially when you have a running quarterback. Keep that in mind when you go against Justin Fields about playing that type of defense where you have a flat line. But all in all, coming out, started like, here we go with the slip kickoff.
Yeah.
But they bounced back, and the defense deserves a lot of credit. And those two corners have been playing excellent. And once again, you talk about getting pressure with four, allows you to put more resources into stopping the pass. Diggs comes out to double move. Everybody settled down, and Zach Wilson had a clean game.
Where's this unit defensively right now? Because they're being asked, hey, do you guys think you're the top defense in the National Football League? And when you go out and you play a team like the Bills, a prolific offensive attack like that, and hold them down to 17 points, have 5 sacks of Josh Allen, and dictate play on your terms, especially in the second half. Bills couldn't get anything going in the second half. What do you think about where they're at right now defensively as a unit and maybe where they can become down the stretch?
Well, I think when you talk about where they are defensively, I think they're a top 5 defense and arguably could push to be the best defense or the most feared defense. When you think about when they play like that and they have balance, you talk about an 8-minute drive, the long drive going into the half, and then the long drive coming out of the half. What does that do? That keeps that defense rested. That already had a rotation. We know that Nathan Shepard comes in and Huff comes in kind of in the second half. That's when they get their snaps. And it's like, hold up. Like, if I was there, I'd be like, hold up. I'm not ready to tap out. I haven't really played that much. So I'm good. But that is just a credit to the depth. And Saleh talked about how tough it was to continue to keep Huff off of the active, right? When you think about why do you have 10 guys up on the defensive line, is because you continue to wear that offensive line out. And on the flip side, running the ball wore their defensive line out, and they couldn't really protect themselves because they just didn't have the legs to. When you think about Michael Carter and Robinson in that last drive. So when you talk about what's good with this defense, I really can't give the defense all the credit because the time of possession won by the Jets really aided in their ability to stay fresh and have guys like Huff come off the bench because they didn't have to play an extended play in the first half.
How were they able to do it? You're speaking to what the offense was able to do there in the fourth quarter. They get the ball at their 4-yard line. They run it 8 consecutive times to take the ball from the shadow of their own end zone inside the red zone there. How were they able to do it? Because everybody in the stadium knew the Jets were going to run the ball, and the Bills just couldn't stop it.
Well, you make the Bills pay the price, right? Remember, the Bills are really unique because they use their base defense as a sub defense.
Yeah.
Right. So like that's disrespectful. You got tight ends out there, you got big bodies out there, and they think they're going to stop it with a light box. You made them pay the price. And Michael Carter may not have the speed of Breece Hall or the pure size of James Robinson, but he's so compact that when you get tired and he's been in the corner, you can't get low enough to get him. So you see a lot of guys running high trying to make tackles and reaching for a shoulder pass. He's so stout and so short that he's able to just run through those, right? Because you're too tired. Fatigue makes cowards of us all. And you saw that defense tired, and you force guys to make tackles one-on-one. And the fact that they didn't have their 2 outstanding safeties made it even more difficult because they weren't able to really mix up the coverages, and the Jets did a tremendous job in doing what you always hope you can do. soft the game away by running the football.
Yeah, they ran for more than 170 yards. What did you like most, not just running the football, but the game plan specifically with Zach Wilson? Because one thing that you were talking about last week, he can't retreat. We didn't see that Sunday. We saw it on one play, the Von Miller strip sack, but obviously the Jets grabbed momentum right back with the Sauce Gardner interception.
And you see why I say you can't retreat back, because when he steps up, he has options, especially when a team only rushes 4. You have 2 open lanes, and you saw him be able to make plays on third down by stepping up in the pocket and then taking off when he caught the Bills in man-to-man coverage. And that's what you have to do. That's something that he's going to have to repeat when the Patriots come in town, because they play him the same way. And now instead of retreating, now you step up into the eye of the hurricane. And I tell you what, it's sunshine and roses inside the eye of the hurricane. It's on the edges of the hurricane when you get hit with debris and get hit with shrapnel.
Yeah, he had better eyes, don't you think, throughout the game? It seemed like he was comfortable in that pocket. But again, The ball was coming out quick.
Yeah, the ball was coming out quick, right, decisive. And shout out to Garrett Wilson for being able to win immediately. And, LaFleur is doing a good job in moving him around so teams can't just dictate that he's on the outside and set their defense. You would like to see some more guys get involved, but right now, you worry about that, coming back, how to find ways to get other guys opportunities in space. Mims had 1 catch, but it was a big catch, and using his big body, his big frame, and when he's able to perform and come through in a clutch like that, then you build trust, and it's something to grow upon, and you put him in more situations, and then before you know it, you have 5 or 6 guys that just the ball is spread around. I mean, we saw the best that does it last night in Patrick Mahomes and how he does it. And it's like it's tough to defend when you have everybody rolling and everybody involved, and I think the team benefits, and that's the next step.
Speaking of big bodies, we'll have to see where the Jets are on the injury front, but it sounded like they're thinking Max Mitchell and George Fant going to be back after the bye. Corey Davis hasn't played the last 2 games. He's that big-bodied baller, as Saleh says, on the outside, and he's going to help the run game as well because he's one of the best blocking receivers in the National Football League, and that's a guy we've seen Wilson have a lot of trust in throughout here his first 2 seasons in the National Football League.
It's going to be tough, right, because those are high-end problems, right, because somebody's going to have to go down. I think Herbig has done a tremendous job. I mean, he's a little road grader. He's feisty. He's big in there, and he's been a big part of the run game. So now you have depth, and now you be able to, now practice is real, because now practice is a competition because you want to be up. So you got to make sure that you're available. And the luxury is if guys are dinged or hurt, you have trust that, okay, they can just take this game off and get healthy because you have a viable backup behind you. So
are the
guys pressing and risking getting hurt, long term.
Are the Jets ahead of schedule right now at 6-3?
I mean, come on, man. Like, their win total was 5 for the year. Of course, they're ahead of schedule. But now you got to keep the main thing, because now you're going to be the hunted. So coming back and thinking about the future, you got the Pats. You should be looking for revenge there. But now, man, if you look at that Chicago team, that's not an easy out anymore, the way that Justin Fields is playing. And, that's a harder game. Minnesota, right, they're 7-1. So, I mean, the goal is to get to 10. You want to get to 10 as fast as you can. And that's just saying, hey, man, we can start dreaming about something that we didn't think we were going to be able to dream of, and that's the playoffs. And how great that would be for this team to get in the playoffs. When you get in the playoffs, anything can happen. But also just getting that type of experience and getting a taste of what the playoffs is all about and something to build on. And like I said, this time last year, the Jets were trying to figure themselves out, and they did a great job in flipping this roster. But I believe a guy like Tyreek Hill shunned the Jets because he looked at what they were working with the year before, and he didn't think that it was good for his future. Now you talk about going into the offseason, if I'm a free agent or if I'm a guy that's looking to be traded or asking to be traded, I'm saying, listen, this is a young team with a lot of money, a lot of draft capital, and they're at the beginning of a run. I want to add to the beginning of that run, and the Jets have just made themselves a destination, and that's what this year is about. If they can get to the postseason, finish with 10, 11 wins, man, the rich get richer because next year you're going to be able to add to that talent maybe some veteran pieces. The
Yep.
same way that Miami was able to do this offseason. They were just 1 season or 2 seasons behind Miami, but man, they've closed the gap this fast. But they're right there head to head with Miami with all the money that they spent, with all the draft capital that they've spent in previous years. And if you're able to catch them in one offseason to be able to talk about talent acquisition, because they've done a great job in drafting talent, but man, the Jets still need a big, greasy, fat snacks right there in the middle. And you know what I mean? They'll be able to say, okay, now they can go and look for that guy and be able to build and make this defense even deeper. And then on the offensive side, man, you got luxury problems. Becton coming back has to be forced to live up to the expectations, because now they say we can win without you.
You got Elijah Vera Tucker coming back in 23 too. Breece Hall. I mean, the list goes on and on as far as how talented this roster is. You think it's the beginning of a run. And what we're seeing on the field really speaks to that. And again, you can make the argument that the Jets have easily one of the top 3 or 4 most talented young rosters in the National Football League. Easily. Now, let me ask you about the division now, the snapshot. The Bills 6-2. 0-2 inside the division. They lost to the Miami Dolphins on the road. They lose to the Jets on the road. You have both the Jets and the Dolphins sitting there at 6-3. And then the Patriots there at 5-4. How is this thing going to shake out?
I mean, you got to take care of business. It's a must-win against New England. You can't allow them to tie you in the win total by beating you twice, right? That's a desperate game. You got to go out there and you can't imagine if you lose that game to them, you can arguably be in last place in the division. So you got to come back and you got to take care of business inside the division there. Then you have to let Miami know that it wasn't a fluke, because they're going to have Tua Tagovailoa back. It's going to be a lot more difficult to beat them than it was the first time. And then the Bills will have revenge on their mind. So you have to, winning the division isn't out of the realm, right? And the beauty is the Jets are so deep that they can sustain injuries. When you look at the other guys that we mentioned, the other teams that we mentioned, Miami, even New England, they don't have the depth that the Jets have. The Jets have tremendous depth. It's not a huge backup. So, those guys are going to have to stay healthy. The Jets have already been unhealthy, and they're starting to get back healthy. Yes, you won't have Vera Tucker, you won't have Becton, you won't have Breece Hall, but to get Fant back, I mean, who knows? You can go into these big packages where Fant can play tight end and be the extra guy for the run game. Helps your short yardage and goal line, and all those things that you try and do. That's an added weapon to a guy that plays at a high level. Okay,
so I just read the division off to you, but what do you think about the landscape of the entire AFC? Because let's go Baltimore 5-3, Cincinnati 5-4, Tennessee, who gave Kansas City all sorts of fits last night, 5-3, the Chiefs 6-2, the Chargers 5-3, and then all those teams in the AFC East. What do you think about this conference?
I mean, listen, it's a deep conference, right? It can go either way, because those Bengals are starting to play at an unbelievable level. If you look at what Joe Mixon did yesterday with 5 touchdowns, and Jamar Chase is going to come back. Defensively, they're a super solid team. You can put that defense in the top 10 as well, right? So, I mean, I think in Baltimore, you have to be careful with Baltimore, because Baltimore, to me, is a more refined version of the Tennessee Titans. They play an ugly, physical brand of football, and they got reinforcements coming too. When you think about a Jobu, you think about Titus Bowser, they're going to get healthy, and they're getting 2 more pass rushers. So now they're going to have depth at the pass rushing position with Justin Houston and Owe. And so you have to make sure that you're ready for that too, because Lamar Jackson can be special at any time. Let's see what Deshaun Jackson has left. But, it's a deep, just imagine last night if they had Tannehill and they were able to have a bit of a passing game with King, and how nasty that team is and how physical that team is. That's a tough out too. And they're going to host a game, at least the first one, because they're going to win the division.
There's no doubt about that. Yeah, the AFC South. I mean, if you're comparing that to the AFC East, you just can't. I mean,
but they're one good team can beat anybody.
Yeah, really impressive the way they went in there to Kansas City.
They threw the ball 10 times.
And if Mahomes doesn't pull off his magic, they lose that game. But we get used to Mahomes pulling out his magic. So, biggest surprise, I've asked you this before, but as far as the New York teams, do you think both the New York teams are headed for the postseason here?
I mean, it's going to be tough. I mean, listen, I think the Jets, if they beat the Dolphins, the Jets, I think have well, the NFC East has an easy schedule too. You think about strength of schedule, but I'm thinking Jacksonville is a must win, Detroit's a must win,
Chicago,
New England's a must win, and Chicago. That gets you 10. 10 gonna get you in. When you think about Chicago, they still have to play each other. They really haven't played each other within that division. I'm sorry, not Chicago, the Giants. But it could be one of those seasons where you get both teams in. But I think the Jets are more dangerous because they have more playmakers on the offensive side of the ball.
Yeah, I think so too. You played with Revis and Crow. What does Gardner and Reed allow this defense to do differently in terms of Salah's always talking about, hey, listen, we have those guys on the outside, so they kind of allow us a little bit more freedom to do different things in our coverage schemes.
But first of all, let me talk about DJ Reed, man, because I feel like he doesn't get enough credit.
Okay.
I think people don't talk about he's playing at an all-pro level, not Pro Bowl level, all-pro level. And I think he's very deserving of those awards because everything that Sauce is doing, he's equally doing, and he's coming down. And, I mean, you talk about physical in the run, with the hit he put on Judy a couple weeks ago. You talk about stride for stride with Diggs, getting his head around, making plays on the ball. I think he's very deserving, and I think he should be mentioned up there, in the all-pro type of status, right? So, it starts there. And I think he's teaching, what a great mentor for a guy like Sauce to have, to be able to teach him how to be a professional, how to prepare. And we forget, how his season started off with a heavy heart, man, losing his father, man. And you just root for a kid like that, man, that just continues to work hard and do everything right, man. And he's a joy to watch, right? And you ask me, like, what's a Jet? That's a Jet right there, man. Perseverance, consistency, leadership, professionalism. He's everything that, you would hope to have in a teammate and a player. But, you talk about Sauce. He I don't know what it is. I mean, maybe it's a cool nickname, but he get away with a lot of stuff, man. He's going to have to clean up just a little bit. Yesterday, he didn't really get his head around on that pass to Gabe Davis. But listen, it's time for the Jets to get some favorable calls. Not that I thought it was pass interference, but usually, if Gabe Davis maybe would have came back for that, that could have went a different way and been a huge call. He's playing at a high level, man, and he's been challenged. And you think about how the game started with Diggs with the double move. He didn't hang his hat. Next play, the confidence still reigned, and he had a tremendous play. I mean, how instinctive it is to turn around, roll off of that zone coverage, and make a big play right after Zach had lost the football.
Do you see similarities between this defense and the defense that you played on here and you thrived in from this vantage point only? Because schematically, totally different.
Yeah, schematic is
totally different. Yeah. But just listen to this. As far as how physical these units are, because I feel like the Jets go around popping people, and those guys are going to be feeling it. The Buffalo Bills are going to be feeling it throughout the week, whether that be Josh Allen going down. The Jets linebackers are thumping out there. Mosley,
you got the Black Hammer, and you can say that's C.J. Mosley, and you can say Quinn is myself. Laying the hammer, the hit stick. Eric Smith was a knockout artist. So it's a lot of similarities when you think about the physicality, and people knowing that they've been in a football game when you play the Jets. I think that's true for the past and true for the present.
Yeah, it's definitely going to carry over when you play the Jets. I mean, they're one of the toughest teams in the NFL right now, and they're establishing that identity that Saleh wants. And I go back to that drive where they did run it at the end of the game. Saleh always says, a former defensive coordinator, there's nothing worse than getting run on. And the Jets.
It's demoralizing.
Yeah, can you speak to that? Because it didn't happen to you much.
It's like taking your manhood. It's like, okay, we're running here and we're going to win the football game, and we don't think you guys can stop it. We're going to continue to run it. We're not going to put the ball at risk because we know that we can get first downs, and it's absolute. You can blitz, You can bring in big bodies, big personnel, and you can't help it. Like, so just take this, watch the clock go off, and physically know that I'm more man than you, that I'm tougher than you, because it ain't about schematics. At this point, it's about me coming downhill and moving you against your will. And that is it's a tough pill to swallow.
What do you think of Jermaine Johnson? He made that big sack in the fourth quarter. If that play doesn't happen, who knows where we're at? Because they're at 17-17, 1st and 10 at midfield, and then he puts them in a negative down and distance situation. But everybody talks about his speed from a pass rushing position.
And his length, right? You talk about the 6'10" wingspan. He needed every bit of that 6'10" to be able to grab Josh Allen. If somebody else is there, maybe not as much foot speed. Josh Allen circles the defense, runs for one of these 30-yard passes where he fakes the pump fake and puts defenders in dilemmas because he's still a threat to keep his eyes downfield. So you have to be plastic to your man. And then he takes off, and now he's in space, running full speed. So I mean, you talk about Jermaine Johnson, like body types, right? 6'5" versus 6'5", but Jermaine Johnson a little bit faster, a little bit more athletic, and that athleticism allowed him to bend the corner to be able to track him down.
What should Saleh be saying to these guys before they depart here, one Jets drive, and get a little rest and recuperation before they come back?
Yeah. Get away, forget about the game, but still watch football, still pay attention a little bit, get refreshed, heal up, go to a beach, get some massages, spend some time with your family, your kids. But then when you come back, understand that the mission is not complete. And that, the second half is when we make our run. It's, we still got receipts to collect in the show. And, it starts with being able to win this division. We're trying to win the division. We can play the Buffalo Bills and make sure that the Bills have the same record that we have. We can beat the Dolphins and put them behind us in schedule. We need to sweep our division coming back. We need to make sure that we win the games that we're supposed to win, which are all of them. We don't have to lose another game.
Where's the Mad Backers' favorite bye week destination?
Oh, man, you don't want to go too far.
Yeah.
Right? So Turks and Caicos, Bahamas, Tulum if you want now. Now Tulum wasn't something that was big when I was there. You want to go down to the DR, you want to stay with one of the islands that's close. If you're going to go to St. Bart, St. Kitts or something like that, that's a little farther. You want like a 2 to 3 hour flight and be able to have fun, come back because you do have practice and you don't want to lose your legs a little bit. Still try and, get a jog in, get a little things going because when you sit still, that's when the lactic acid sits down and the scar tissue set up. So make sure you still get a little run. You don't want that scar tissue to start selling. Get you a nice massage, drink a Mai Tai or two, and relax. Yeah,
but you're not getting no run in. We know you don't like to run. You be in the ring, doing your jump rope.
No cardio. I would probably take my jump rope.
Yep.
And hit the bag and jump rope a little bit, and probably get on the lift.
Thanks, brother.
My pleasure.